predictions and preview show for Battleground. I am, of course, OLED and Fries, joined as always by my tag team partner in her little ship bubble over there, the natural Asher Bizarro. And Asher, would you please introduce us to our fantastic guest today?
Well, we made it happen, Fanny. I'm very glad that he's here with us. So we have host of For Exposure Pod, right? I got that right. I always mess it up for some reason. I don't know why. But host and content creator Blair Pacheco from the Grain Maker podcast. There we go. I did it.
That's perfect, First off, thank you so much for having me. I'm very stoked to be here and excited to talk a little NXT.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I mean, and NXT's been on a bit of a roll. Releases, aside, they're getting their groove back. We've got Worlds Collide coming up in just a few weeks, with Money in the Bank coming up in about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. We got Worlds Collide coming up. We got news today that Nick Nemeth, Joe Hendry, Moose are expected to be TNA representatives at the Worlds Collide show. And most excitedly for me, AAA is apparently letting us see, well, El Higo de Vikingo for everybody else. But for me, Psycho Clown. I get to watch Psycho Clown. My favorite AAA wrestler. I love this guy. WWE's Spanish Twitter account had an interview with him this week that I loved. It was great. So if you haven't seen that, WWE Espanol on Twitter, it's fantastic. No, I'm very excited for Worlds Collide. Like, not that I've had to push past Battlegrounds because it's a fun one, but it's like that show of Worlds Collide, that interesting idea we're finally getting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, we've had this Worlds Collide concept for a few years. Let's not do anything with it.
Yeah, finally take it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at, like, way back when they first did that Worlds Collide back in, like, 94, I think it was, and just the impact that had on wrestling. And now with, so many partnerships and these, agreements, hey, like, yeah, we're going to use some wrestlers from here. We're getting all these incredible matches and things that I don't think wrestling fans ever thought that we would actually get. But now it's happening. And when Worlds Collide happens, it's going to be more of that. And it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
It really is, because there's so much good wrestling. For whatever you want, there's wrestling for you. And Blair and I both are big fans of the indies, so, it's one of those things where it's nice to be able to get out there and go. Before the show started, I asked Blair, how far is too far to go to a wrestling show? So apparently I'm going to Blitzkrieg Pro Wrestling in a few weeks to go ahead and watch Javier Bernal and Priscilla Kelly as they wrestle for a local independent promotion out here. So, but I guess we should talk about Battleground. What is our excitement level? And Blair, we'll start with you for this 6-match card here.
I would say if we're going on a scale of 10, we'll say a scale of 10. I'm a hard 8.9 on it. I think that there are some really fun matches, and I think, as we talk about everything afterwards, I think that it's really going to shape the landscape when you look at the NXT TNA sort of partnership that's going on, because I think that after Battleground, we're going to be able to go in a whole bunch of different directions, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
You're muted. Come on, sir.
Astrid?
Always. I'll say around that. I would say at least a 9. I feel like it's a lot going on. I feel like the only match that I'm like, and it's not because of, I would say, like 2 people out of it. It's a 6-man tag, but other than that, I'm excited for everything else.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I was gonna say 8.75. So we're all in that same vicinity of like 8.25 to 9. Yeah, I think a lot of these matches are fun, even if some of them are kind of predictable. And I think we're gonna get a lot of good wrestling, if nothing else. Yeah, we'll start with the match that I know me and Asher are definitely not looking forward to in some ways, and looking forward to in other ways. The Culling is taking on Josh Briggs and the Jobbers. The NXT Tag Team Champions of Hank and Tank. Actually, why don't you go ahead and talk about this one first, and then we'll get to Blair after.
I'm mostly excited because of the Culling just being there. It's nice to be able to see them as a team here, especially with Shawn Spears, because I feel like I don't think that's happened before. We usually get Niko and Brooks teaming up, if anything. So I feel like it's nice to be able to see them together like this for this 6-man tag. But we also have Izzy Dim that's going to be in their corner too. And I feel like there's a reason why Josh Briggs is in this match, most likely because he's probably going to get that pin for and eat that pin for the team, unfortunately, because I don't see the tag team champions getting pinned. Or the other scenario will be that they do get pinned and then the tag team gets a title shot at the next pay-per-view, most likely. So I'm very on the fence about it, but I will go with hopefully the Culling winning this one because I want them to get on top of this.
Blair.
You know, I like watching NXT this past week with the Josh Briggs match on there. Like the dude is explosive. Like I feel like the sky should be the limit for him, and it's just a matter of like getting those. I don't know, maybe getting a few more reps in something like. But like I'm watching that match and he did like a flying shoulder block, I think, and I was blown away. I didn't expect it from him. I think the worst thing is like going into this match, if Briggs and Hank and Tank are on the losing end, he's going to be the one eating the pin, and it's just like one step forward, two steps back, and it's a little disappointing. Like I want to see I want them to go for broke with him, and like let's see what he can do. But man, it looks like it's all going to be stacked in the Culling's favor, and I have no reason to think anything different than them picking up a victory.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the Culling gets this win. And as far as Briggs is concerned, I agree. I mean, I've watching him in different promotions, especially up in the Northeast, he worked a lot up here. I was able to see him a bit more often than others. The thing I find interesting is that we're just passing Stand and Deliver a few months ago. Last year at Stand and Deliver, he was in a match with Oba Femi and Dijak, which ended up winning Match of the Year from the NXT fan base. So the fans are behind him in general. But for, like you said, every time he seems to get a push, it seems to be one step forward, two steps back, put him back in a tag team again. Because Tavion Heights and him both went to work the N1 and Noah. They both had fantastic time there. Tavion had a much better time than Josh Briggs did because he was the one who got the special time with the Great Muta. He's the one who got, anointed by Great Muta during that run. So obviously Tavion got a little bit more out of it. But you figure Briggs would come back with something. And they give him Yoshiki Imamura, and that was great. Him and Imamura had fun stuff. But again, it just kind of pigeonholed Brooks back into a tag team and back into doing the Josh Briggs big guy tag team stuff. And it's like, there's so much more to mine from him as a talent. And it just seems like he can't, for whatever reason, he can't get out of his own way, whether it's people backstage, the right people don't like him, whether it's there's something missing in his game that we don't see that they see. Because he can cut a promo. He's not lighting the world on fire, but he can cut a halfway decent promo to propel the match because he sold me on that Shawn Spears match that we saw last week. And again, the match was solid. We really enjoyed it last week when we talked about it on Tuesday. So, but the sky's the limit for the Culling. Niko Vance impresses me every time he's in the ring. Shawn Spears is just magical out there, making everybody he works with look like $1 million. Not caring about his own championship opportunity to continue pushing this fantastic storyline of the cult leader who's like, look, I lost my title and it's not about me. It's about you guys. Let's get Izzy the women's championship. Let's get my boys the tag team championships. I think, unlike Asher does, I think one of Hank Tank does take this pinfall because they have to start setting up because they mentioned it specifically on commentary that there's nobody really in line for the tag team championship title shots. So I think that they have to do something at some point. And with this being the only tag match on the card, I think the Culling had the perfect opportunity to set up a tag team championship match coming out of this. So I think Niko Vance gets the pinfall on Hank.
I do want Briggs to lose his like leather vest because anytime I see it, I instantly think aces and eights, and I'm like, that's not what I want to be thinking of when I see Briggs. Like, let's change a little bit up with him. But
yeah, there was somebody, I forget what it is. I sent something to Asher this week about somebody was in a vest, and they were like, "Oh look, it's aces and eights junior."
It was Theory, I think it was.
Was it Austin Theory from Raw?
Yeah, I think it was Theory. Yeah. Yikes.
Well, speaking of another match that we're just going to kind of hopefully move past and not have to worry too much about, the blood feud between Stacks and Tony D'Angelo at NXT can't seem to tell right. Blair, what do you think about Stacks and Tony D'Angelo?
Like I gave an 8.9. The 1.1 that like lost to get a 10 is because of this match. And like I hate to say it, but like I can't get invested in it. They're just missing something to like draw me in, and like I don't know what it is, but like watching even last week when they left to go to the safe house or whatever they referred to it as, I'm like it's just I couldn't get into it, and that seems to be the problem with this feud is like it's just tough for me to like get invested. I'm fully expecting some sort of shenanigans in this, and like Tony D ending up on the losing end. I don't know how it's going to play out, whether it's going to be outside interference or what, but like it's this is the one where I'm just like I just can't get into it.
We've been talking about this for a few weeks on Taking Over, and my thing is that we still don't know why Stacks did what Stacks did. We're 4 weeks out from the pay-per-view, and we really don't have a definitive reason why Stacks turned on Tony D'Angelo. I thought Tony did the best he could to sell this on this week's NXT because he cut another fantastic promo by himself in that Italian restaurant, calling out Stacks, calling him a coward, being like, I want to see this from your point of view, Stacks, but I can't because I'm not a coward. Like, there's just so much good work coming from Tony D'Angelo, and they're just not letting Stacks do anything seemingly with it. And I just don't know why or what they're going to do. We talked about it this week, and I'm going to steal Astrid's idea for how this match ends. Yeah. I think Stacks wins because I think Luca Carusifino returns on the side of Stacks, and he attacks Tony D'Angelo. And then I think they're going to have another match somewhere else down the line, and I think that's where Rizzo turns on Tony, and I think Stacks forms a family in his own image by taking everything from Tony.
Yeah, this is. I think one thing that for me has been the disconnect in this is the fact that we haven't really had any like physicality or any like face to face between both of them. Really, every time something happens, Stacks was on screen at least twice during this whole thing, and even last week it was just Tony, and even Stacks wasn't even a part of it in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's one huge part of it because you kind of hope that Tony will be able to be physical on Stacks because of the revenge somehow, even leading up to this match. And we haven't really had anything between them like this. And I feel like that's one thing that has been a fail on there. And you should have at least had them face to face somehow and kind of tease, even to try to have Tony try to attack Stacks and Stacks running away, something along those lines. But we haven't had anything like that. Everything has been Stacks on screen or Stacks being in the safe house. And we really feel that disconnect, and like Ed was saying, it's like we still don't have, like, we know he wants to take over, we know he doesn't want to be there on the bus, he wants to be the head person the way Tony is, but I feel like we need a little bit more than that as to the reasoning why this is happening, and I think that's the huge part that it's missing as well. But yeah, for the ending, I like Ed said, he really stole the idea that I had. I feel like when you have somebody that's missing for quite a bit and you kind of want people to forget about him, this is because they're coming out sometime later. You don't want them in the picture, and that's what makes me think like Luca's the one that's returning somehow, and he's the one that's going to be helping out Stacks to win, because the last time we saw him, he met with Stacks and Stacks just told him, give me a moment, and he shut him up. But we haven't been able to see anything else from him afterwards. So it's like that's what makes me think like he's going to come up and be a factor in this somehow. And I feel like that's going to make it a little bit more interesting here because Tony's not going to have any backup. And then we'll see later on if Tony is able to get some kind of backup as this continues on, because I don't think this is going to end anytime soon.
Even teasing a little bit of physicality between them would make a world of difference, because it allows the fans to crave it a bit more. But when they're not even in, near each other, there's going to be that disconnect. People are going to lose interest. But you tease them with a little bit, just not being able to get his hands on him, not being able, a Stacks not getting his comeuppance. That's what people want. They crave the chase, and when you don't give them to it in like that, they're gonna, it's gonna fall wayside.
Yeah, and it's a shame because this match should be good. I think Stacks and Tony will have some interesting chemistry. The match could be great, but the build has been pretty lackluster going through, and it's just a damn shame. So far, we've all taken Stacks. We've all taken the Culling. I don't think this next match is going to change it, but for the first time, we're going to have a championship on the line as Sol Ruca defends her North American Women's Championship against Kelani Jordynne. Asher, what do you think about this one?
I feel like at the same time I'm kind of torn about it, but I'm leaning more towards Sol retaining this one just because I know like Sol versus Zarya is the end game for this, and the way I see it with Zarya hopefully taking that championship. But I feel like that's what we're building up towards. It's just gonna suck that Kalani's gonna be in the end of it, in the middle of this somehow. But still, I feel like we saw one of the matches already, and it was great. So I can even imagine how this is gonna be even better. So I'm just here because it's gonna be fun either way. But it's one of those like bittersweet moments. But at the same time, from my point of view, I don't care who really wins. I'm happy with either one. But based on the storytelling that we have, I feel we have Sol winning, and then Zarya is gonna be the next one in line for her as well.
You know, Sol Ruca is just absolutely incredible in the ring. The things that she can do are amazing and like just an absolute treat to watch. The match this past week between Kelani and Zarya, like I felt the way they laid it out, I had some issues with, but in the end, you can like I think that I agree with Astrid. The direction they're going is eventually the Sol Zarya match, which, like, honestly, that could feed families with how great it's going to be. Like, it's just going to be fantastic, and like, you get a little like very light teases of that's what they're going with, but eventually when it does happen, I think it'll hit. It's a shame that Kelani gets put in this position, almost like getting fed to the wolves, because she does deserve more than that. This match is going to be fantastic, but I have no doubt that Sol's going to win, and it's just going to be like a precursor to the eventual Sol Zarya feud.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in the same picture. Sol wins this because Sol versus Zarya is going to be the match to see. I mean, the rest of us want to see it. Astrid, me and you both know Millie's going to cry real tears when Zarya and Sol have to actually wrestle each other. The breakup of Sol Ruca. Sol is one of the most entertaining and talented women in all of NXT, which is saying something considering the stacked level of talent that we have in NXT, to the point where Shawn Michaels was asked in an interview this week, how do you manage booking this women's division? And he goes, it's so tough because I don't have enough time and enough stories to literally focus on all of my great women's talent. He's like, I have to let some talent suffer because I just can't feature them enough. And it's like, well, at least he understands that he only has X amount of time. And again, he runs probably the most consistent North American women's division in all of professional wrestling. We always preface this every time WWE tries to tell us it's the greatest women's division in wrestling. We always preface it with North American, because Stardom still exists. And until Stardom no longer exists, there is no better women's division in all of wrestling. But I mean, this match is going to be fun. I differ on the whole Kelani deserves better, because at the same time, like, yes, I think Kalani's a fantastic talent. I think she deserves more, but at the same time, she was the first women's North American champion. She doesn't really need the championship back. She's at the beginning of this heel run that she's getting ready to go on, and she's doing really good work with talented people who are helping get her over. So at the end of the day, her losing this match won't be the end of the world. And I could see her being an early challenger within the next, I'll say 4 to 6 months, because I don't think it'll be right away, but in the next couple months, for either Stephanie Vaquer or Jordynne Grace, depending on how that match comes out, I can see Kelani being a world championship caliber opponent for one of them in the near future by the end of 2025. So I think she's going to get her just due. They just have to keep her in this North American picture for a little while till they sort out the very top of this division. Is Triple H taking Stephanie away from Shawn? Does he have room to run with it? Do they have to run with Jordynne? All kinds of different things that they have to figure out with the main roster before they can figure out where Kelani falls in the meantime. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, we get to watch another great match between Sol Ruca and Kelani Jordynne. There are worse things in the world to have to watch. We could have to watch Mercedes Moné. I'm a hater of Mercedes. I apologize.
Yes.
The most predictable match on the card, but one of my favorite and probably one of Astrid's favorites. My boy Femi takes on Myles Borne. Ah, Myles. You lived young, you burned bright. God rest your soul, merry gentlemen. Femi is going to destroy this Borne. In the best way possible. It's going to be a 10, 15-minute match. Oba's going to get beaten down like Oba always does because they've figured out this great formula, the non-Braun Strowman giant formula of make him feel human, but make him unbeatable. Keep him from losing matches, but make it feel like every time he gets in the ring, somebody could beat him. Somebody could make him tap out. Somebody could pin him. They've done such a good job in this year and a half, 2 years that he's been here, making him feel unstoppable, but also making him feel beatable. Myles Borne is going to put up an amazing effort. He's going to have a fantastic performance. They're going to make him shine like $1,000,000. And this will be his Javon Evans moment from Stand and Deliver. This is the moment where Myles Borne becomes a main event level talent if they want him to be. Now, I don't think he stays in the main event picture. I think he goes to the North American title picture in the near future. But I think this solidifies him as that mid-card guy who can lower mid-card, upper mid-card, lower main event. He can kind of go both ways depending on what we need. He's going to show out. He's going to show off. And more importantly, it's given him an opportunity to talk to a community that most people don't know or that don't know how important they can be as a wrestling fan. Touching those people who need that extra motivation. And Myles is going to be able to do that. I can't wait for this match, but Femi's going to win. Hands down.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Oba's going to come out with the victory. I was very happy that Myles won that Battle Royal just to change it up a little bit, like getting, some fresh blood into that title picture, someone almost unexpected. The promo he cut the following week was fantastic, and it's just really nice seeing him in that spot. Like, I think he's, like you said, upper mid card, lower main event. I think that's a great spot for him. But even after this past week and just the interaction with Oba and Jasper Troy, like, that is almost what I'm fixated on. Like, okay, well, where's this going to go? And I mean, I love the name Jasper Troy. As I heard it, I'm thinking Face Off and Castor Troy, but that's nonetheless, that's just me showing my age. The way that, you kind of see, like, they're planting the seeds for this eventual feud between the two, and it's a little, it kind of sucks in a bit just for the fact that, like, it kind of almost overshadows Myles just a smidge by putting him in that spot already. But Myles and Oba are going to kill it. It's going to be a very fun match. Very excited for it, and I can't wait to see what those two are going to do. But Oba's going to come out with victorious.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you guys both said it. It's like there's no other way by Oba winning this, but I feel like more than anything, this is just a test for Myles to see how he's going to shine out there. And whether he passes or fails, we'll see about that. But I think we're all cheering him on for him to pass this test and really shine on through. And to be able to show that even with the disability, look how great he's doing. And that's not stopping him from pursuing what he wants to pursue and being the best that he could be. And more than anything, it's nice to see him grow because we see him from, like, that guy in the corner being like Randy Orton Jr. to him talking the way he did in this promo. And just, like, he blew me away because it's something that I was not expecting from him, of all people. And it's just nice to see somebody is getting that spotlight too, and getting somebody that is, I didn't say he's so different in that aspect of it. He's not like anybody in the NXT roster either. So it's just somebody different to see in the spotlight here. And I really enjoy that for him. And it's something we were not really expecting from the Battle Royal, because you could have thought maybe like a Charlie Dempsey who has more experience would have been in that spot. But for him to get it, it's just amazing, like a great opportunity for him. Again, this is going to be a fun match either way, with Oba winning and whatever we get from Myles, because we know he's going to get destroyed either way. But I think it's going to be fun to watch, and I can't wait to see it.
I mean, Ashton, me and you, the week that they announced the Battle Royal, we took the picture and we were like, all right. And we were like, this guy might have a shot. This guy, and we were like, Myles Borne. That'd be great, but he ain't got no shot in hell because they're not going to push him to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
and then he won it. And like this has all the hallmarks of match of the night. Like this is my dark horse for match of the night. I think this match could steal the show. And if it doesn't steal the show, I have a feeling the next match will. The Women's NXT Championship on the line when Stephanie Vaquer defends against Jordynne Grace. Astrid, two of your favorites are in this match. I love them both equally. Or almost equally. Only one of them viewed your short this week, so I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick.
But I met the other one, so that makes it almost equal. So I don't know. This one is so tough because from my point of view, I know that this is one of those like probably we'll see Stephanie winning, but at the same time, for me personally, it could go either way. It's one of those things that with everything happening with the main roster ladies, you could almost see like Stephanie getting called up because of how much she's improving, and having Jordynne be the focal point of the NXT Women's division. But at the same time, with Roxanne and Julia getting called up, you're thinking somebody like Stephanie is better to keep here as a foundation for the next couple months in NXT. So that's why I'm really like torn about it. And it's hard to pick somebody at the same time, just thinking about the two aspects of it, because either way it works out really well for either person. But at the same time, I wanted Jordynne to win this championship here, because at the same time, after she loses, if she does, then what do you really do with her there? I feel like she's gonna be in a little bit of limbo for a bit there, so I wasn't sure how to fit her in the women's division afterwards. But for now, I'm gonna stick to Stephanie winning because la primera I can go against her.
Blair?
You know, this match, I think it is going to be on the same level impactful wise as Bayley and Sasha was back in NXT Brooklyn. This is the sort of match that it's newer fans are going to see it, younger wrestlers are going to see it, and it's going to shape the way that their mindsets, because you have two of the absolute best going out there. They're going to put on an incredible wrestling match. I have no doubt that this is a match that could easily be up there considered for match of the year. When you look at what those two are able to do, the paths that they've taken to get to this point, those two are going to go out there and absolutely kill it. And before, Roxanne and Julia were officially sort of, announced to SmackDown and Raw, I had no doubt that, Jordynne was going to win and we were going to see, Stephanie get called up. I thought that was going to happen 100%. But with those two getting already announced, I do kind of think that Stephanie's going to win, and maybe this feud continues on a little bit more. I think that there's more that they can do with it still, and I don't think that Stephanie would get lost in the shuffle getting called up right now.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Roxanne getting lost in the shuffle. I don't want that to happen to her. So, like, hey, if it means Stephanie stays down for a little bit longer, continues on with the title, or even chases it back from Jordynne, I'm okay with that. But I'm taking Stephanie to win.
Yeah, I'm torn on this match. I think it's closer than Astrid, because Astrid says, for her it's a toss. I think for almost everybody it's a toss. I don't think it's as defined as people think it is. I could see Shawn putting the title on Jordynne Grace. I could see a heel turn from Stephanie Vaquer. All I want is whoever loses this match, I need them to turn heel. We need one of they both can't be baby faces. I can't handle both of them being baby faces. One of them needs to turn heel, because for the love of God, I need a slightly better story than because Mutual Appreciation Society only lasts for so long. You can only do the I respect her, she did all of this, and I did this while I was here, and back and forth. You need a slightly deeper, better story, and I want some hatred, I want some vengeance, I want some venom from them. So I just need whoever loses because this could be a great, like Blair said, this could be 3 matches. Give me 4 matches with them, I'll be happy, because this feud could go for months, and I'd be thrilled. At the end of the day, I think you need to have Stephanie win going into AAA and Worlds Collide. With Stephanie's history with AAA, and we'll leave that to the side and just say, with her history, if you don't know, go read it. I want her on that card, and I want her heavily featured in a prominent position to show that she's overcome everything that's going on there, and that WWE not only understands but supports her. And I think leaving her off that card would be a mistake. And I think the only way you don't leave her off that card is if you have her on there with the NXT Championship. So I think you have Stephanie win, but if Jordynne wins this match, it makes perfect sense, and I can see the dollar signs, I can see the way you do it, I can see the way you book yourself from here. The biggest question is, does Fatal Influence get involved? And do we even have a finish to the match? Because they've been teasing Fatal Influence for 2 weeks now. They had the tag match 2 weeks ago. This week on NXT, they had them there with Lola Vice, who's trying to buddy-buddy with Stephanie Vaquer. I think there's a potential that this match, the only reason why I think this match doesn't main event is because there's a room for a no finish, a no contest disqualification somehow, where Fatal Influence gets involved and we have one of them trying to take the top spot and failing. But either way, this match is going to kill it. This is my other potential match of the night. And then we move on to what I think WWE and NXT want us to believe is the main event, but it will probably be the least interesting title match on the entire card. Trick Williams takes on the defending TNA champion, Joe Hendry, in the first time that the TNA championship will be defended inside of an NXT ring. I've been saying for about a month now, since this match was announced, since they started the feud between Joe and Trick, I think Trick is winning the TNA championship from Joe Hendry. I think this is your landscape-shaking moment where we finally get somebody else from the other company having somebody's championship. Trick has nothing left to do in NXT. Zero. Nobody. There's not a match on the card I want to see Trick Williams have. There's not a feud in the world I want to see him have on the NXT card. So what you do is you put the TNA Heavyweight Championship on him. You send him to TNA for 2 months. You let him feud over there. I think his first feud should be Elijah. I think his second feud should be Meg Santana. And I think whichever feud culminates at Slammiversary is when you take the title off of Trick and you put it onto one of those two guys, and you go ahead and get that TNA championship back on them at their big show, to get that blood pumping for the TNA crowd, to get that, and more importantly, to get ticket sales for those TNA shows. Because the more you have these NXT talents on these TNA shows, they do well. The more TNA talent we have on these WWE shows, the more they do well. And the mingling between people will be fantastic. But at the end of the day, I think Trick Williams is your new TNA heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I think, all things considered, I have no doubt that Trick's going to walk out victorious. I think it would do wonders for him, getting more people to feud with, especially a lot, not that it's everything, but you're getting more experienced people to work with, just people who have, experienced different things in wrestling, So getting out there and working with, a Mike Santana, that'd be huge for him. Mike Santana's a great guy, So, like, the way I was thinking, I think Trick, he ends up winning, big deal for him. He can be on the TNA shows for a bit. I do think they run it back and do a rematch because everyone's instantly going to think that Hendry's going to, regain the title, after a month run or whatever. But I could see, you run it back. Hendry's close to winning. Somebody else from NXT interferes, costing him the match. That allows Hendry to continue a feud with someone from NXT. Trick holds on to the title. And then you can build to that Trick Mike Santana match, which would be huge. Mike Santana's been having a great showing in TNA lately. Like, they've really given him a chance to shine, and I think it's been great. Ultimately, I think Trick gets a couple-month run, eventually drops to Santana, but I think this will do wonders for him in his career going forward. And I think this is the kind of thing that he needs to get to that next level, is, a run with that title, doing some feuds in TNA, and that's what's going to push him up to that next level.
I'm gonna say like this because I'm gonna go against my guy, and I hate to do it, but yeah, Trick is gonna win. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Joe, forgive me. I do believe though.
We believe in Joe Hendry. We believe in Joe
Mm,
Hendry signing with WWE at his earliest opportunity if he hasn't already signed the contract.
100%.
I
the pen is just literally on the contract. It's just starting off.
like it's the funny like this partnership is the biggest tampering in the world because any chance TNA had of keeping Joe Hendry is gone now. Because he wrestled at WrestleMania in front of 60,000 people with Randy Orton and got advice from John Cena and got to talk to Triple H, where Triple H told him that there's many more WrestleManias in your future. Like, TNA has no shot of keeping him in any way, shape, or form. This is the biggest piece of tampering in the world. But at the end of the day, TNA is making out like a bandit here in all of this. And like I said, if this just pushes Mike Santana to that next level, great, good for him. Because he's put in all of this work in all those years in TNA in the beginning, then over in AEW, and now back in TNA again. To go ahead and get himself this push as a solo star is going to be significant. Hoping amongst hope that TNA doesn't TNA this and put the title on Moose or something.
Yuck.
But
No thanks.
we all know TNA loves to make TNA decisions.
Don't
All
remind
right,
me.
Blair, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. Go ahead and tell the people everything you've got going on and where we can find you.
Okay, you can find me on all social media at Grainmaker Wrestling Podcast. No Grainmaker podcast this week. It's a busy week just with doing a couple of shows. I've got prep work for commentary this upcoming Friday with Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, as they have an incredible show. For exposure every weekend up on YouTube. You can also find me. I do a monthly AEW podcast called Chillin' with JR and Blair. And I haven't, set a date for it, but I do have a new show starting up soon. This is the first I've told people of the name. It is called Reseda Hardcore, and it is going to be a show that just streams PWG matches because I love PWG. So you can watch for that. Just check out the social medias, and you will find more information about it.
Blair, speaking of that, since we got some news this week, that there's news that PWG might be coming back.
Mm-hmm.
That must be making you a very happy man, huh?
It is, and it's going to be tough to justify a plane ticket from Winnipeg to Los Angeles when finances are tight. And because the one thing I want to do is go to a PWG show. I was fortunate enough last year to go to California and see West Coast Pros Queen of the Indies, which was absolutely fantastic. But now I need to go see a PWG show. So if they're going to come back, I will be there.
There you go. Astra, tell the good people where they can find all of your wonderful content.
For me, I think by the time this airs, hopefully the Final Destination movie review, it's on the YouTube channel there. For myself and OLE podcast, we do have our Battleground post show with the besties. We're looking forward to that as well. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky as Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram and Threads as Pizarro20. And if you're here, you're most likely on my YouTube channel, so hit the like button and subscribe too.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at EdFries12584. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EdFries2002. Like Ashford said, after Battleground, make sure you come back to our local establishment. We're going to have the post show with DC Hendricks and Amanda Savage, the Body Slam Besties. They're going to be joining us. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. This Tuesday, me and Ash will be back for another Taking Over as we talk all things NXT, including the Ethan Page Ricky Saints rematch that they've already announced for next week's show. And then you can catch me and my tag team partner Andre, as we've been given permission from the Empress of Marvel Talk, Peggy herself, to go ahead and have our MCU Rebound episode of Spider-Man Homecoming. So we'll be back and reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming again this Wednesday as we continue to go through the MCU catalog while we get ready to wait for Ironheart to start in late June. And of course, everything our local establishment you can find at Ole Podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch at our local establishment. Try to give us a watch on YouTube as best you can, because we're getting ever so close to the watch hours for the first level of monetization, which allows memberships and super chats, which we greatly appreciate. We got some fun content coming up for the week. There should be a Double or Nothing review coming out this Sunday after our Battlegrounds post show, so make sure you catch that. We've got Ring Respect Radio every Tuesday and every Thursday night. We've got Taking Over every Tuesday. We've got Marvel Talk every other Wednesday. We've got every week on Friday, we got the Mother Talking post show, and they are reviewing All-Star Season 10 of RuPaul's Drag Race, so you can go ahead and see all that wonderful content there. Don't forget Honor Ramble whenever Ring of Honor puts on a show on a Thursday night like they're supposed to. We have Honor Ramble with Auntie Collins and Kyle, so don't make sure you forget about that. Everything else, like I said, you can find it in the social medias. Blair, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. For everybody else, enjoy Battleground till later on tonight, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
I am in misery.